daddy. Call her daddy.
Call her daddy.
Call her daddy.
Today we are diving in the extraordinary journey of Alex Cooper and how she built her $60 million podcast empire, Call Her Daddy. And we will also explore what you can learn for your content and podcast journey. But first things first, if you've been living under a rock, you might have missed that the podcast industry has exploded in the recent years and that 2 million podcasts are crying for attention. Like mine. So how did Alex Cooper not only break through but dominate the podcast world? But more importantly, who is the person that earns more money than some of the world's top athletes? Alex Cooper grew up in Newtown, Pennsylvania, where she developed a passion for sports and media at a very young age. In high school, she was a standout soccer player at Pennington School, leading her team to multiple state championships, which later earned her a scholarship at the Boston University. At Boston University, Alex began as a Division I soccer player, majoring in film and television. Her athletic discipline and passion for media set the stage for later success. In 2018, she co-created Call Her Daddy with her roommate Sophia Franklin. The podcast offered unfiltered discussion about sex, relationships, and personal anecdotes, and quickly found a big audience. Within only 2 months, they managed to grow their podcast from 12,000 to 2 million downloads. The stage was set. But every success journey has its challenges, and also this journey was disrupted abruptly. 2 years after the inception of Call Her Daddy, a public contract dispute with her co-host threatened the show's future. Despite the rumors and the turmoil, Alex made the bold decision to continue the podcast. And within 1 year of going solo, the podcast broke all the records. And this move led to a pivotal moment, negotiating a $60 million deal with Spotify for exclusive Spotify podcast. And even though it did not work out with her soccer career, with this deal, she makes more money than the world's top soccer players. Alex did not just break the glass ceiling, she completely shattered it. And from one day to another day, she became one of the highest paid podcast celebrities in the world. But what makes the Call Her Daddy podcast so special? First and foremost, and maybe most importantly in 2024, Alex Cooper is very authentic.
What's one piece of advice you'd like to tell your high school self?
Oh my gosh, I know your acne was so awful, but it's okay. Your skin's gonna look so much better soon.
She shares her personal stories, she's not afraid to speak up, and she never sugarcoats any topic, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And if you take one thing away from this podcast, then I hope to be authentic. Authenticity will be so important in 2025 and the years to come. People want to follow real people. People don't want to have this perfect world anymore. So if you do one thing in your content strategy, in your podcast strategy, try to be authentic. Secondly, Alex Cooper grew up with her content. While she began with some sort of female locker room talk, as she grew up, the content also grew up. And she expanded the podcast to include deep conversations about personal growth, mental health, and even societal issues. By evolving the podcast topics, she kept her core audience very engaged, but also attracted a lot of new listeners. And I think that's a very big takeaway for you. If you started with a certain content topic, with a certain content focus, don't shy away to evolve as you grow up, because I think too many content creators, too many podcasters, they say, yeah, but I have this audience and I started with a certain topic, but that doesn't mean that you can evolve over time. Time changes, economy changes, the world changes, so can you. If you find a new topic, test it out, test the waters, talk about it in a couple of podcast episodes and a couple of content pieces and see what resonates most with your core audience, and see also if you attract maybe new listeners, if you attract a new audience, because I think it's so important to evolve and don't just stick to your one-trick pony. And lastly, I think she became really good in interviewing high-profile people. Of course, it's not always the case when you start out as a content creator or as a podcast that you get high-profile guests. But when she gets high-profile guests, she always manages to open up the celebrities like never before. She's able to have deep, engaging conversations with her guests and even takes them from a complete different topic to a topic that she really wants to talk about. For example, with the interview of Kamala Harris, they did not talk about political topics. They did not want to divide the people even further than it is already. But they talked about women's health. They talked about women's mental health. They talked about inequality. So they talked about so many different topics that I think are so important for something that she stands for. And I think that it's really important that if you believe in something, and I think she's doing that exceptionally well, that she doesn't deviate from her plan. She really sticks to the topics of Call Her Daddy. She really sticks to what does the core audience really want to hear. And she communicates clearly what the podcast is about, even if it's maybe a little bit different. For example, with Kamala Harris, she was able to have a quick 2-minute talk with the audience and say like, look, I'm not going to talk about political topics. I'm going to do something completely else in this interview. Everyone was expecting endorsements. Everyone was expecting like the political campaign that Kamala Harris has to do from her party, but they didn't. And I think that really shows how much of an interview master Alex became over time, because she really nailed this interview. And if you want to become a good content creator, learn how to interview people, learn how to listen, because it's a crucial skill in podcasting and in content creation. If you got those basics covered, I have another bonus tip that can really accelerate your growth on social media and your growth in the podcasting world, and that's building a loyal community. I know that this topic about building a loyal community and building a community in general is thrown around a lot currently, but I think it's going to be the currency in 2025 and the following years that brands really look up to. It's not about how many followers you have, it's not how many downloads you can generate, but it's really how loyal is your fan base. Are they going to show up if you have a live podcast, if you have some conference, if you have a talk? Are they gonna like your pictures? Are they gonna engage with you? Are they commenting on your pictures? I think this kind of currency is gonna be much, much more important in 2025 and the coming years. So I think she's doing an exceptional job, and she's doing fan meetups. She has merch for her people, and she really engages with the people on a personal level on social media. If you're planning to launch a podcast, if you're planning to launch your own brand, try to be authentic and try to be yourself, because sooner or later you have to show your real face on social media. If we look at all the developments, what's happening on TikTok, what's happening on Instagram, what's happening on YouTube, people want real people. So you better start to be yourself very soon, because otherwise I think it's going to be very difficult for you to sustain as a content creator in 2025. Alex Cooper's journey, college athlete to a podcast powerhouse and a podcast empire, is nothing short of inspiring. She broke a lot of records and really raised the bar in the podcasting world. Her 60 million euro deal is not just a personal achievement, but it is a real statement for the podcast world. It shows that with passion, authenticity, and a loyal community, you can reach anything that you dream of. What do you think about Alex Cooper's incredible journey? Did any of the strategies resonate with you? And how will you apply these lessons to your own content? Let me know in the comments below.